On Target Inc. provided all the noisemakers. What we did is we picked 3 venues, we GPSed them, and then we took whatever was going to be in that facility, 1 shotgun facility, 1 centerfire rifle, and the 1,000-yard range. We positioned on the shotgun was, again, a short-barreled 12-gauge shooting some pretty heavy loads. I remember I was doing it. And these, we were all shooting in the direction that this would be oriented, by the way. The centerfire rifle was Garand, I believe. Yeah, 30-06 Garand, I think. And the on the 1,000-yard range, we had a 50 caliber BMG. Let's see. So that was gunfire generated at 3 represented sites. Data recorded at 6 sound sampling locations. 4 of those were at the Waikoloa Resort Complex. And I'm going to show you where they were. And we invited the Waikoloa Resort people to witness the tests. The original shooting range working group, if you go back and look at the people that were listed on there, you'll see Waikoloa Resort was part of the working group. We never kept anything from them. We were completely transparent. We shared all data with the representative from Waikoloa Resort. So they've known what we've been doing for a long time. Okay, and that's the last bullet on that chart. Okay, here's the picture. So, if you look at the square mile shooting range, you see in the green circles, those would be where we made all the noise. If you see the blue circle and the 2 blue circles, that's where we made the noise in 2005. Okay? Now, if you look at the blue check marks, that was where we sampled sound in 2005. And then again, looking at the red check marks, that's where we sampled gunfire measurement at Waikoloa in 2005. The yellow check marks are where we did it in 2012. So you can see the 4 locations within the Waikoloa Resort Complex. There was one measurement that's off the map up at Pu'uanahulu, and we checked it over at Waikoloa Village. Couldn't hear anything at any of those locations. I think I got it on another slide. Okay. Summary. There are no existing state or local shooting range standards. Nothing. Okay. There aren't very many anywhere, actually. We did find that the state of Arizona has some shooting range standards, and their standards measure gunfire sound at the receptor site. Other people do it, but they measure it at the range location. So we thought the Arizona ones would be more representative of what we wanted to do, so we did it that way. We maximized, again, we made as much noise as we could, and there was no mitigation attempted. This is an important point. We tried to make as much noise as possible. The range is going to have mitigation. We will provide sound mitigation in the shooting facility. We always plan that. But none was there for this testing. The results were compliant with the Arizona range standards. All the data were shared again, and we basically got the same thing as we got before. We couldn't pick gunfire out of the background noise. So this year, we had a big meeting. We had a big meeting last October, actually. DLNR, resort community, on target. Big confab. We had some of the representatives there. state representatives. And the plan was, okay, let's go back and try to get something worked out. Why don't the resort folks who complained about gunfire noise, why don't you sit down and they assigned PBR Hawaii to kind of facilitate a kumbaya meeting kind of thing. Let's go over what are the problems and how can we work this stuff out. We had 2 meetings. Nothing's going to happen. Okay, it turned out about like you would expect. Look at the number of people in there. Results are inversely proportional to the number of people you assign to do the job. We got way too many people. All everybody did was state their desires and opinions, and it's not going to. It wasn't very useful. Waikoloa Resort hired their own sound consultant. He came in, and I don't want to get into too much detail. I'd be willing to go over his analysis and our analysis, and we can talk it to death, but I think it'll bore most of you. We don't agree with what he came up with. Okay, he's anyway.
Was he?
No. What he did is he came in, and the physical measurements he made were background noise. He came in at Waikoloa Resort Complex. You're back. And measured background noise, and then he used theoretical gunfire noise, reduced it for the length. If you go bang over there, I'm not going to hear the same bang here, and I'm going to hear less of it the more I go back. So he did do that, and he did it correctly. And he came up with the bottom line was he indicated the probability of audible gunfire at 22% of the locations that he did his studies. And he said the way we measured it was not the way to do it. I don't want to put something down. I went back and found out that he did a measurement in Maui, and he did it exactly the same way we did it. So you draw your own conclusion. What's going to happen? The master plan is about done. The environmental assessment is kind of in limbo. What I think is going to happen, we're not going to do an EA, we're going to do an EIS. That's where it's headed. And we believe that's a good idea. I only need to mention one word, super ferry. Okay. We do an EA, and I would imagine there's going to be a bunch of litigation, and this will go on for another 14 years. So, way to get it done is let's go ahead, bite the bullet, do the EIS. PBR Hawaii, last time I talked to them, they're still looking how much money it's going to cost, and we'll have to find that. To my knowledge, there's $3.25 million in CIP funding in the state budget currently. There's about $300,000 in federal funding that's available annually. The other thing that's going to happen is we're probably another sound contractor. PBR Hawaii is working on a request for proposal even as we speak. It'll go out for bids. We'll find out how much that's going to cost. Somebody else is going to come in, and they're going to do some kind of testing. I can't tell you what it's going to be. I have no idea. And all that information will get compiled and stirred around with all of the previous information, I suspect, and go into the EIS. Right now, all the funding that I'm aware of so far is federal funding. Yeah. I'm sorry?
I have to talk into the mic. So we can get federal funding to do an EIS for a shooting range.
We can get federal.
You can get.
We can get federal. We, the state, can get federal Pittman-Robertson range development funding. Yes.
Got it.
And that value, let me just, do you all know what PR is, PR money? Every time you buy a
sure.
firearm or whatever, you pay an excise tax. It all goes into a big fund. It gets stirred around, managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. At the end of each year, they look at the total, and they distribute so much to each state based on a formula.
Yeah, sort of.
There's 8 small states, they get a minimum. If they got what you got from the formula, you would get next to nothing. But okay.
And explain to me who PBR is. What is PBR? PBR Hawaii is a what's the best way to describe them?
PBR Hawaii is an engineering firm that happens to be in the state of Hawaii and happens to be who the state chose for the contract.
They're consultants.
Yeah, they're the contractor. It's a very large firm. They do big developments. They do. They're very well known. I'm not a developer, so I.
And Dick, just to help me with you. So.
I can't.
You've been doing this a long time, right? So I mean, today, who are you representing?
Who am I representing?
Yeah.
You.
Me. Okay. And do you work for On Target?
I am the president of On Target. Yes, sir.
You're the president
yes,
of On Target. Got it.
Yep.
Understood. Okay.
I look at it as I represent everybody that wants to shoot on this island and in the state. I'm a shooter and a hunter.
Got it.
So that's where we are today. You asked the question, and I have the answer. There's who we are.
Got it.
I think if you look at, we're a diverse group of people. We've got a lot of expertise in the organization. We're all volunteers. I have yet to make 1 cent, and neither does anybody else. We're volunteers. So, if you have no questions, I'm pretty much done.
So, yeah, I have a few. So, obviously, the Waikoloa doesn't want this to happen.
The Waikoloa Resort Complex, Mr. Jerry Gibson of Hilton, he lives on Oahu and manages the Hilton hotels over there, but he also is responsible for the Waikoloa Hilton, has been spearheading the operation. At least his name is the one that's been spearheading the opposition to building this. And it was purportedly on sound issues, but it never was sound. Waikoloa Resort people don't want people like you over there where they live. That's the bottom line. They don't want a shooting range. They don't want any hunters. They don't want any shooters. They want to live in their own little whatever it is down there. It's both, and Gibson was very good about lining up all of his suppliers, and they've written to Governor Abercrombie twice now, asking him to withdraw support for the shooting range. What bothers me a little bit, I don't have a problem with somebody doesn't want to do it. That's fine. Okay. I want to do it. You don't want to do it. Okay, I can live with that. But what I don't like is the misinformation that's gone out. Remember the slide that showed the range. Whoops. Oh, no. Hang on, I'll get it. There we go. Okay, the Hilton hotels, the Hilton or the Waikoloa Resort would be, if you drew a line starting at the bottom right-hand corner up through the upper left-hand corner and looked in that direction, that's where the resort is, okay? Look at the direction that the firing goes. It's exactly opposite. And Gibson came out and said the reason he doesn't want this hotel is he's concerned it's dangerous to his people with bullets raining down. I'm an engineer. I know of no way you can repeal the law of physics. If I shoot that direction, I don't know any way that it's going to go this way. So that was an issue. The sound was an issue. We've run 2 tests. I don't know what else you can do. You can't measure anything. How do you measure less than nothing? So that's where it is now. We think I don't know how long you want me to rattle on, so if you want me to give me the hook, give me the hook. We think this facility will do exactly the opposite that the resorts are claiming. They're claiming, you build a shooting range, there'll be no people in our hotel, we'll all go broke, we won't pay any more taxes to the county, the state, everybody's going to lose money. That's not true. If we build this facility, I can tell you already, you're going to have 1,000 people a year come over just to use the Sporting Clays range. And they're going to come from the mainland. They're not coming from here. And where is the closest place for them to stay? The Waikoloa Resort.
What they're going to have done.
So what we're doing now is trying to put together our we show the economic benefits of this facility, and hopefully one of these days we'll all sit down as gentlemen and say, this is what we see and we know what you see, and maybe we can work something. I'm hopeful something can get worked out. Okay.
So, this range is going to be a state-owned. It's state-owned.
It'll be a state-owned facility.
So, what kind of support are we getting from the state, if any at all? Or who?
You're asking me a very embarrassing question, Willie Joe.
Well, I know what your answer is. I just want to hear it.
Actually, we've got quite a bit. Actually, Mr. Isla has said that he wants to see this go forward.
Yeah.
There's not very many people in DLNR that really know anything about it. Roger, when he was here, Roger Emoto was the one that inserted the $3.25 million in last year's budget. So
if they have funding already designated for this stuff, why? I guess I just don't understand. I mean, how can
DLNR is driving the train? Does that help?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
DLNR signs off on it, then it's a go. I mean, who's got to approve this?
It'll go through, like I say, I think it's going to go through an EIS process. And,
Which is years.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it'd take years. Might take a year.
Okay.
It's pretty much done. Most of the stuff for the EA is
Okay.
all done.
So-
We've already done all of the...
So let's say we go through that as clean bill of health, right? Blah blah blah. Lead remediation. Who gets to say yes to this? I mean, everybody can say no, but who says yes?
Well, I suppose the final word would be the governor.
The governor.
Would
So
be
the
my
governor's
guess.
got to approve this.
I'm sorry?
The governor has to approve this. I mean, I don't know, Dick. I'm asking.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was
I
asking.
mean,
too.
so we go through the process. There's funding set aside. Who says break ground? This is a go project.
I'm not sure I can really answer your question, but I understand your question. And how about if I find the answer and give it to my very good friend, Mr. Tom Lodge, and then he can pass it on to you folks?
It just seems like everybody can say no, and no one can, and we don't know who's going to say yes. Right? I mean, so if Isla says yes, is it a go? I mean, that's my question. Who is it this group needs to work with to help you? Who do we contact?
Well, it's...
Who's the decision maker?
Dick, can you tell me what classification the land's in, state land use classification?
All I can tell you, it's a public hunting area.
No. Is it in agriculture, urban?
I can't answer your question. I can find out.
Okay, that would depend, that would make, that would determine partially who would say yes or no.
I mean, is it county land or is it state land?
State land.
It's state land.
It's state-owned land.
State-owned land, okay.
It's part of Pu'anahulu, right?
It is part of the Pu'uanahulu
management
Game
area.
Management Area. It's 1 square mile cut out of the Pu'uanahulu
Right.
Game Management Area. Yes, which is the only, by name at least, game management area on the island.
Yeah.
And it's not much of a game management area, if you know what I mean.
Let me just interrupt and say that if it's agricultural land, it will probably have to go to the LUC for, since it's more than 15 acres, for a special permit, right? A special permit. If it's conservation land, you're probably going to have to get a conservation district use permit, which I believe is issued by the Department of Land and Natural Resources. BLNR. Is that right?
Bobby, I can't really answer your question, and I appreciate your input.
And
I can tell you that PBR Hawaii does know
Right.
all this, and they
No.
know all the permitting
Yeah.
that needs to get done, and they're working on all of the
Right.
permitting.
And those are probably the main
Yeah, I'm
permits.
just, you know.
All of those go through public hearings
Mm-hmm.
and such.
But you asked how you can help.
So, okay, let me one more question. Give me, from the Big Island, who's our rep and who's our senator that handles this area? So is it Malama and Cindy?
I can tell you, at the October meeting we had, there were 4 representatives there who supported us. There weren't any there that didn't. There were 4 there, period. They all supported us. That would be Kahele, Solomon, Onishi, and Evans.
And Evans. Okay,
They were all supportive.
got it.
Now, answer your question, what can you do? I just happen to have some petition forms with me, okay? I'll leave them here on the table. If you will fill them out, you can either scan them and email them back to me, or you can mail them to the address that's shown. It's a Hilo address on Target Inc. We need all the names we can get. We would like to get a ton. That'll help. What's really going to help, though, is when we put this economic benefits plan together. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And we need to offset the objection we're getting from the Waikoloa Resort folks, say they're going to go out of business. We just know that isn't true.
One more question. How many acres is this on?
It's 1 square mile, 640 acres. I think 1 square mile is 640 acres, isn't it?
Right.
I think it is.
I think it's 540. Give or take. Yeah.
And the entire property would be used for, I'm just trying to figure out who would be where the permitting process would go through.
I really apologize. It's 60 years of shooting have taken their toll, and yes.
No, you're using the entire acreage as the range.
Pretty much. I think that picture we've got up there right now is pretty much the 1 square mile. There were there's some old trails, a few old trails that we had to move things around, so we didn't get into those. There's a couple of sensitive plants. I'm not sure which ones they are, but basically no biggies. There were no big biological or cultural issues with this piece of land, which is nasty lava.
So I have a question. Recently, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service talked about a critical habitat area between Palani Road and Pu'anahulu, I think.
Well, there's a number of critical habitats. If you look again, somebody suggested, well, why don't you just pick this thing up and move it further Mauka. Well, one of the answers is further Mauka is the black-burned sphinx moth, critical habitat. I don't remember how big that was. A number like 40,000 acres sticks in my mind. It's somewhere around Pu'uawa, Pu'uanahulu. It's in that general area.
Yeah, the thing I'm talking about is that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service
Yes.
has indicated that they plan on designating 19,000 acres of land between Palani Road and Pu'uanahulu as critical habitat. So does this fall within that area?
I don't know. I can't keep up with Fish and Wildlife Service and critical habitat. It's never going to end. It's going to be more and more and more. As far as I know, from the assessment that was made, it's not. As far as I know.
I don't believe it is either. It's further up in the village area.
But that critical habitat issue is a real killer, and that's another one of the reasons why this spot was picked.
Are there any other questions from anybody back there that you'd like to address, Mr. Hofflinger?
I think somebody should check that, because I don't know where that 19,000 acres
Starts and ends.
starts. I mean, I know where it starts. I don't know where it ends.
I'll bring the issue up with PBR. Okay, thank you.
And just one more thing, the critical habitat doesn't necessarily prevent you from doing it, but it'll probably make it more expensive because you're going to have to do some mitigation in the case that it is. But I really don't think it is, but I can probably find that out for you.
Thank you very much.
I do not want to belabor the point, but I think if it's identified to be critical habitat, I mean, you might really have a problem there. You know, I'm just, yeah, you know, I'm with you on this thing, but you need to figure out where that 19,000 acres ends.
What happens with critical habitat? When critical habitat impacts something that you want to do really badly, they make you mitigate it somehow. You either have to give them more land somewhere else, like they did up on Saddle Road. They had 100 acres that they went through that where they said they've seen a palila.
Tom, I'm not arguing with you.
They got 10,000 acres.
I'm just raising it as an issue that somebody should look at and make it go away before it becomes an issue.
We will do that.
And
Right.
so there's 19,000 acres, and if it falls outside of that, you're home free. But if it falls within that 19,000 acres, you know what those guys can do, right?
I know all too well.
Okay, so that's the thing I'm raising right now. I'm not, as I said before, I'm with you guys, but I just heard that there's 19,000 acres and somebody ought to look at that.
And you're not necessarily home free, because what they're talking about right now is county specific. They're going to go ahead in about a year and do a statewide critical habitat designation, so you're still vulnerable.
Okay.
Can I
Exactly.
Can I try this to put your mind maybe a little more at ease? I was intimately involved when Mr. Paul Henson of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service came over here to choke down the 45 plants in Hawaii. And then after that, it's the black-burned sphinx moths. After that, it was 5 flies. It's never going to end. These people are out of control. Okay? So I will look into the issue that you brought up. I don't think we're there. I think we would have known that by now. We do have PBR Hawaii is pretty big outfit, and they hire people to do that for them. So, but I will go back and look at it. I do appreciate your comment.
Okay, Dick, thank you. I appreciate what you did. Let us know what we can do more to help you. We'll pass out your,
I'll leave some forms here for you
Right.
to do with what you would like. We would like to get as many names as we can.
okay, let's move forward here. We have an hour to go. Tony has HB 1903, the Outdoor Heritage Month, that he'd like to discuss with us here. So I'd like to give you the floor.
Okay, thanks, Tom. I'll make it real quick. We talked a little bit at our last meeting. I'll just go over real quick that HB 1903 passed this past legislative session, and that was Outdoor Heritage Month. And we're tasked at trying to promote and celebrate Outdoor Heritage Month, which is the month of June. And because of time constraints for this June, we're not going to actually hold an event. But what we thought we would do is have the mayor do a proclamation, which we have it written up here, and then I can provide that through email to anyone. It's a draft right now. I'm going to run it through Bobby Command and get it cleaned up a little bit, and then I'll take it from there. It'll go to the mayor. And what we want to do is get some of the outer island mayors also, because this is a statewide thing. And basically, Outdoor Heritage Month, I'll just read a little bit of it. It reminds us that Hawaii provides the perfect backdrop to enjoy the great outdoors and experience unique landscapes, ocean waters, flora, fauna that exist nowhere else in the world. And Outdoor Heritage Month allows us to celebrate the commitment of our state to promote outdoor recreational activities and preserve natural resources, including water, land, air, and wildlife. Outdoor Heritage Month is a time to showcase the healthy lifestyle of our outdoor heritage by hunting, fishing, hiking, gathering, and so forth. But that's the general area of what that is. And then also we were tasked to kind of put a simple proposal together for the mayor so that we can kind of get an idea of what we want to do next year, and try to get some funding, and what the events would entail, what venue would it be. So, and some of the things that we talked about actually addressing would be like, increase the visibility of outdoor recreation to and for the public, our policymakers, and our government agencies, heighten the understanding and appreciation of recreation's importance to the health, economy, and quality of life to our island residents, and our policymakers and our government, recognize outstanding leadership on behalf of outdoor recreation, and increase partnerships and other tools to enhance recreational resources to build connections between all resource user groups. And it was suggested, that we try to form one group that can kind of tackle this along with the GMAC here. So on the side, I've been meeting with several other people, and we're trying to formulate that. And that way we can bring these things to this commission here and also through to the county to get approval and get this thing in the works. So that's basically where we're at on that right now.
Excuse me, Tony.
Yes.
Didn't you get some sort of a commitment from the mayor to help promote outdoor heritage for next year as well?
Yes. Yeah, it was, we met several months back, and the mayor would commit some funds to do this. It's just with the timing of this year and the way the fiscal thing is, it looks like it's probably going to be more for next June that we can actually get some financial and also other help too, using some of the county facilities and coordination and stuff. I think that's what we're looking at.
Are these members of the group that you have starting to form right now, do they have people going out seeking participation?
Yeah, we have several people that are already looking at, we have to target participants to come to this event, and the spectators and so forth too. So some of the money and stuff we're hoping that we can use for that to advertise and things like that of the upcoming event for next June. And throughout this coming year is what we would start preparing for this event and exactly narrow down what we want to do and what type of vendors and, exhibits and things like that we want to have at this event.
What, and this is a question that came from Bobby when he and I were talking earlier. What is the opportunity to try and draw outer island people to come to the Big Island for some of our events on this thing?
Yeah, I think it would be good if possible, yeah. definitely. I don't know how we do that yet, but
If we had our shooting range up and running, we could.
yeah, that would help a lot too, you know. But that's part of why we want to do this partnership, because it's not just, you know, it's not going to be just a hunting thing. It's outdoor heritage is everyone, you know, to promote our outdoors, a healthy lifestyle. So hopefully we can bring all these together. I think they have a fishing event on Oahu, but I think it's only deals with fishing. I've never been to that one, but I've had people tell me about it, and I've seen some videos on it, and it's pretty thorough, but it's just specifically an aquatic issue. So this would be similar to that, but would cover, you know, a more broad spectrum. So we would have, you know, all resource users, you know, talk about endangered species. They can have their booths, and, you know, just to have everybody, be inclusive of everyone at this event, and then all the activities that we can do in our outdoors.
Any other questions for?
So what I would suggest you do is create a ad hoc committee headed by Tony and whomever else would like to be on that committee. I believe you can also have people who are not, people from the public also on the committee. What you would do is form the committee specifically for this particular event, or whatever purpose you want to put the committee together for. And then they can go ahead, plan, and present their findings to the commission down the road here, once they got a better idea of what they want, what you want to do.
I would move that Tony's involved in this thing, has been involved from the get-go, that we just have him as the chairman of that committee. He's already got a committee working for him already.
I think there has to be a motion first to create the committees, second, discussion, and the only caveat is there can be at least more than 2 commission members, but there can't be more than 4 who would serve on the committee, and the committee would then have to come back and report to the entire commission, you know, their activities.
So I
needs to be a
move
motion first.
that a special committee be appointed with Tony as its head
Wait a second.
to do the planning.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay. All right, moved and seconded. So, sir, if you don't mind, I appreciate your,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
all right, thank you. Any comments from
I
the
think you need
public?
another member.
Any testimony on outdoor heritage from anybody? Yes, sir.
Can I step up for testimony? I don't know if it's appropriate,
Tom.
Mr. Chair, to do that now because it relates back to some of what's been presented. However, if you want
No
to...
problem. Why don't you come up here and,
Hang on, Tom.
Tom,
While we had a,
on the committee, the ad hoc committee.
anybody else?
Tony, who do you need? You got Ike? Right there? So Ike is it? All right. All right, so if you need fishermen, let me know. You know, I mean, I'll provide
I'm going to need someone from the west side.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I talked with John Sabati and Colin already, and
They can be
yeah,
members as
they're
well,
willing
yeah.
for the manpower support and all that, because we debated whether we would have a event in East Hawaii or West Hawaii. So those are the things that we're going to have to iron out.
Yeah, drag him into this because he needs to do some work too.
yeah. Let me know, I can help.
Yeah, just
Good to go at this point?
let me know if you need like fishing representatives or something, right? I can get them.
We can't have more than 4 commission people, right? Was that?
That's
was the
correct.
deal?
To have an investigative ad hoc committee, no more than 4 commissioners. It's a 9-member commission, so you can't have more than what constitutes a quorum.
Right.
So the max number would be 4.
Okay, but then the other public people doesn't count for
Just
that.
let us know at the next meeting who.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's on
yeah,
the?
and I'll
do that.
Mark and Willie Joe, Ike, and myself. I think it'd be good
Okay.
for now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Glenn and Jinjo from On Target Incorporated. Thank you for taking the time to listen in on Dick's presentation. I wanted to just give a lot of thanks for Dick hanging in there all these years. I don't know, countless hours of putting this kind of detail together. It goes above and beyond the call, and we really appreciate him representing as president of On Target Incorporated. My job is to be on the second in command, basically, for On Target. I'm vice president of On Target Incorporated. I have a long background in recreational education. Came to the island 21 years ago, ran a lot of YMCA programs, been involved in shooting sports since I was 12, been doing a lot of aquatics education. And the thing I wanted to say about it is there were some questions from the committee on how they could be supportive. It really is a grassroots thing. We all sit here, sometimes we speak to the choir. We all like to shoot, we all like to hunt, we all like to go out there and enjoy our resources, which is another thing about HB 1903. It brings to light a lot of those activities and the beauty of the islands and how we can enjoy the great outdoors. I have the added benefit of being both terrestrial and aquatic, so I've been in both worlds and teach in both worlds. The main emphasis of having a shooting range like this is education and safety. It's the bottom line about all firearm training and education, whether it's the National Shooting Sports Foundation or the NRA. Like it or not, no matter what's presented or how political you want to take it, 90 to 95% of what the NRA does is education. It's all about keeping people safe and understanding how to use firearms properly. Some of the best educational materials for that is from those resources. And if you don't have a place to do it safely, it's somewhat irresponsible for all of us, regardless of being in position of power in politics or being a person in the community that's looked up to in education. We have to have this place to do these things safely. We owe it to our generations that will be taking part in shooting sports. Purchase of firearms, the statistics were very clear. It's not going away. You can't bury your head in the sand, you can't politicize it, you can't choose parties, and you can't say it's going to go away. It is what it is. We have a responsibility. The thing that I wanted to make sure, and I wanted to smooth it a little bit, because I know Dick gets a little irritated after the many, many years into this, is that we have a knee-jerk reaction basically here. We have a resort community that's affected by the perspective, and the perspective has a little bit of flaw in it. What we need to do is bring accurate information back to them. We have a great group working on the consulting firm of PBR that will figure out this habitat, which I believe they've already looked into, and it doesn't affect that area. They wouldn't be investing a lot of their money at this point in time if they haven't done that research. PBR has done an excellent job. They're a great consultant. They have been in the state of Hawaii for many, many years. Where does PBR's name come from? It's the initials of the founders of the company, PBNR. Don't ask me who they were, but that's where it comes from. So we have great people working on this project, and you asked how you can help. How you can help on a grassroots level is contact the people at DLNR, the BLNR, your representative for the island, and let them know that this is an important part of our responsibility for education and firearms use. A lot of folks that I know, and I grew up in San Francisco, and I still shoot in the confines of San Francisco. There's one range in San Francisco. You would say that that's probably not a shooting sports city. However, depending on who you talk to, some may be horrified by the fact that you're in the shooting sports, and other people may welcome it. So regardless, and putting all those things aside, we have a great opportunity here. When the dump was being planned to be put where it is today, there was a huge amount of pushback from the resort at that time. They had done everything they could to do away with the idea of putting the dump where it is today. Yet when you drive on the freeway or the highway and you drive past that area, you would never know there's a dump there. People thought about blowing trash over into the resorts or the smell coming into the resorts. It hasn't happened. So cool heads prevail. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is having the accurate information is very important. And what Dick has done is given you a lot of that to share with the people that you know in the community. And I encourage you to do that, because right now we have a small bump in the road. We have a lot of folks that are worried. We have people that, in my business and real estate as well, everybody has an issue with a potential loss of value in their property. Where I come from the Midwest and I spend 3 months at my condo in Waikoloa, and I'm worried about hearing gunfire. I mean, these are a lot of things that come up, and a lot of it's just a matter of perspective and not based much in fact. And of course, my whole thing is, it's okay to have a recreation as long as it's our version of a recreation. And if you look at the heliport, which is there, and tell me that that is not a noise factor for the resort, then I don't know what is. So if you can't be in a conservation area that involves hunting now by a dump that exists and a huge noisemaker in a heliport, where could you be? I mean, where could you be? It's just totally logical. The research has been done. We just have to get through this bump in the road. We have to figure out how we can get together with these people and really show them that this is something good. The island of Lanai has done it. Both Four Seasons properties there have made it easy for hunters to come, check in their firearms at the front desk with security, and go on some great hunts. And they're also talking about expanding their shooting range venue over there. And so I think it's all there, it's right there for us, and we have a lot of benefits to gain from it. But the bottom line is not so much economic as it is our responsibility for safe shooting sports. Thank you very much.
Yeah, hang on, I got one. I could say that we have a new BLNR representative going to start soon. Replacing Rob Pacheco. Does anybody know who that is?
I don't.
What's the name?
Stan Rory.
Stan Rory. Yeah?
Oh,
Stan Rory. Come on, man. Hilo, former attorney and former legislator.
Has he been confirmed?
July.
Evidently, he has.
He's starting July 1st.
okay. Stan Rory.
Invite him over your time.
He's here.
Gotta invite him.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I've known Stan for years. He was on the other side of my divorce.
Oh, great.
He made money then.
Well, him and Rosdell at the time. Yeah, and his partner is a classmate of mine.
Can I ask Dick a quick question on the range?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. Dick, just a quick question. Obviously, this is not going to be a free 99 kind of range. I mean, what kind of fees? I mean, there's obviously going to be fees to go and shoot and all of that. I mean,
It is not going to be free.
right.
It is going to be supervised. There will be a range.
Sitting at the table and talking
Okay.
to the mic, or nothing
Thank you.
comes out. Thank you.
Sorry.
They're starting the barns.
It will.
Press it again. You just turn it off. There you go.
How's that? Oh. It will not be free. I don't know what the fees might be. It is my guess that they will be minimal for local people to use it.
No, but I guess what I'm asking is it should be able to kind of pay
needs to
for
be
the
somewhat
maintenance and-
self-supporting,
right?
yes.
Self-supporting,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, I can comment on that. My
Okay.
background's in doing fee-for-service and balancing out in a 501c3 of how you do the programming. The key is that we know we have a market for the range, for people coming on island from other places. And as Dick outlined, one of your greatest economic driver and income sources is going to be skeet, trap, and sporting clays. So the idea is when you're running this type of system, is that those monies benefit the local population. So the more you can subsidize the real cost of running the program from that income source, the lower the cost is going to be.
Right.
So I don't know what that would be. I mean, I've done programs where it's a couple bucks, and I've done.
Right. Yeah. No, I didn't want a number. I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, and I think it's the spirit of how it's structured, I think, more than anything, where those that can come here and spend money, that money should be allowed to be used for the benefit of the local population in a direct sense. And I think that's a great opportunity, actually, because then you'll have more families getting involved and you'll have a lot more people doing the sport.
Right. I mean, because there's obviously going to be employees and
There's
people
just
that
one
need to
other
work
thing
there.
I want to point out. This is, I told you it's going to be supervised. This is not going to be Manukau. It's not going to be Marita Camp. It isn't, you just go up there and start blasting away. There will be structured venues, there will be structured programs,
Right.
and there will be a range safety officer at every venue whenever there's shooting going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my point, is that
Yeah.
there will be employees
Yes.
of the range
Yes.
that needs to be fed.
Yes.
And that's also part of the education side of it too, because when kids are learning how to shoot, if they don't have that structure and understand the purpose of that structure to have a range safety officer or an educator on site, then bad habits develop, and then you have people going in their backyard and shooting at squirrels or in this
Right.
case mongoose and things of that nature, and then that's when we have a real problem. I mean, that's how we yeah.
Thank you.
But
Yes.
thank you for that. That was a good question. I think that's going to be one of the exciting factors that we have to deal with.
All right, thanks, Lennon.
Mr. Sherman.
I had something real quick. So just as a point of reference, I think Maui, their shooting range is a state-owned, but then it's a club-run facility, and I think it's for non-members it's $10 range usage fee. So this would be something similar to that.
Yeah, the Maui, of course, our communities are all very different, and I'm very well aware of the folks in Maui that are working on some of these things. And there's been other private ventures too to open some indoor ranges and such. But yeah, they're trying to structure it in that way where you have a go-to group, preferably a 501c3 or C4 that can run it, because we know we don't have the funds at the state and county level to do these programs. So reaching out and having that public-private partnership is really a good idea. And you're absolutely right. Maui has it. It's somewhat limited in hours and everything, but it does work. It does help the community get out and have a place to shoot.
Okay.
Do you guys foresee a problem or issue? And just going back to like the Hilo racetrack over here, where it's supposed to be a park, but they have multiple clubs that go in and use the park itself. Do you guys foresee something like that happening?
Yes. I see something very similar to the range we have here in Hilo. One club brought in a container. That's where they store all their equipment for the shooting venues they want to put on. Another one did the same thing. I see that, and that's also probably going to help build the facility. You're going to get local folks that want to have an activity, and they're going to put their sweat equity into helping to build that facility.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, one quick question, if I may. Tom?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question, please? In your opinion, do you believe that you can change the Resort Association's mind?
It's a real... Bobby, I can always count on you for those questions. Given your background in newspaper work, the answer to that is, I believe with effective communication, which there has not been, although the Resort Association has been in attendance for at least the last 5 years, their representative that sat in our meetings and had all of the information completely provided, transparent, including the minutes from the meetings, we're a little disappointed because we don't believe that they were brought on board with the information early enough on where we could have had the opportunity up front when it probably would have been more effective communication. And we were a little shocked that we had that reaction based on them not being part of the conversation directly. So what we're trying to do at this point is say, okay, so you're taking more of an entrenched position now based on somewhat misinformation and somewhat, the facts aren't all on the table. And I think we have to work through that, and I believe that can be done. Whether or not it changes everybody's minds, I don't know, because I can sit there. I actually called up one of the AOAO Resort Association people. I intercepted an email, I can't tell you where, but I got their personal phone number, and I just called them up. I said, let's just go sit and have a soda and talk at your condo. So I drove down there. They're from Minnesota or somewhere, I don't know. And we sat in their living room. By the time I finished that evening, the gentleman of the house basically said, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, I'm still a little bit concerned, but it sounds like you guys are doing all the right things to make it right. But then I heard the other half of the family upstairs saying, I don't want to have anything to do with guns. So that's the thing. You're always going to have, regardless of what's on the table, you're going to have those that just don't want to have anything to do with whatever the issue is. So, but I think we need to take the step. We need to have an opportunity to do what wasn't done early on, and that's to be proactive, given the opportunity now, and get them the information face to face. And again, answering your question, I believe we can probably do a lot of mending fences. We're not the ones that broke them down, but we're willing to work with people to mend the fences that have been broken down.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I used to sit on the end of the table here. You all got a letter that was originally addressed to Chairman Sylvester when he was chairman, by this Gene Fujiyoshi about the pigs. And we've had a little bit of discussion. I've been talking to Bobby a little bit about this as well. And anybody in the public who'd like to see this letter, I'd be happy to share it with you. But essentially, she's complaining that there's pigs in her yard. And she further goes on to say that, which many of us agree with, that a lot of the reasons why the pigs are here is because there's no game management and the fact that there's too many fences in the forest. And we were at a meeting one night with Pig Hunters of Hawaii, and it was brought up that you can't walk for 2 hours in this forest anywhere without running into a fence. And so this is one of the things that's on our agenda this evening too, is to talk about a game management plan for the state that GMAC has been behind in the last legislative season. And I'm a little curious, and we'll get into that here in a minute, but we had a bill that was put forward 2 years ago, House Bill 104, which was a constitutional amendment, and we're going to be talking about this later this evening, I think. But it's a constitutional amendment to bring our game animals anyway, back into the Constitution as a protected resource. And I was at a meeting the other night where the other communities that are out there feel that our animals really should be gone. They say that they're all invasive. But the fact of the matter is that, first and foremost, all the game that we have here in Hawaii is a sustainability resource. We talk about sustainability, but, we're not planning for sustainability. And that's one. It's also a recreational resource. It's a management resource. Places like Puawa and some of the other areas nowadays, conservation districts are bringing in cattle to take the fire load down. And where if you have properly managed game animals, you don't have that. You can see that in Mauna Kea. When you had the animals up there, if they weren't managed properly, you have issues. But then when they're talking about on target tonight, they're right here, they're talking about income resource for the state. Our game is an income resource as well, and it should be a larger income resource. It should be paying for itself, and it's not. The forests here in Hawaii are reputed to have billions of dollars of value, yet they're asking us to provide millions of dollars to help protect it. If they have the value, where's the money? And one thing about hunting in Hawaii and other outdoor resources, fishing, it's bringing money in. It's not having money being poured in to something that's just, essentially paying for salaries and fences. But I wanted to bring that up. This letter is very touching from Mrs. Fujiyoshi. I think, Dwayne, you got a copy of it directly as well from her. And so I think...
Tom, I have a question about that letter. It has an address, but there's no phone number or anything. Does she want us to contact her to talk about anything, or is she basically asking what can we do?
Well,
It says the community needs the Game Management Advisory Commission to draw up a good plan and implement it soon to protect our farms and residences from the wild pigs and chickens, and to allow the hunters to hunt pigs in their natural habitat.
Right.
So basically, the problem with this was that there's so many fences going up that the pigs have nowhere to go.
Right, that's
So they're
what
coming
she's-
into farms.
That's what she's saying. Right?
I already talked to Councilmember Fresh Onishi about this a while back, and the county kind of pushed it back. It's a state issue, and I said, well, no, not when the pigs are coming into residential areas. That should be a county issue. I don't know. Bobby, do you have any suggestions on... because this problem is just going to get worse and worse, and especially with them changing HAR 124 for the transport and release of pigs, that it's going to start becoming more of a problem because people aren't going to want to be entangled in the law. So the service of trapping and releasing pigs is going to go away, and I don't know what capacity the county has to address that issue.
No, I don't really have an answer for that. My question would be, who do the animals belong to? Who owns the animals?
It belongs
Well,
to
we
the
do.
state, actually. It's the people, but the state is responsible inevitably for it.
I think you answered your question then.
Well, several years ago, I think it was Dominic Yagong came up with $250,000 that they were using to help trap pigs here from the county. I don't know how successful that program was overall as far as the net. I do know some people that utilize their services out in Pueblo Malca. Some clients of mine actually called them up, and they went up there, and they trapped about a dozen pigs in her acreage up there. So I know one happy customer anyway out of that program for $250,000. I don't know if there was others, but the county's been involved in this before. The county's gotten involved in bird hunting, or not bird hunting, dogs, the pound issues before. So they've been pretty proactive actually with some of the hunting issues that we've had in the past.
Tom, I think the issue, what we're getting at is that the animals belong to the state, but they're coming into county property, and it's not so much of just getting rid of the animals, it's trying to address why the animals are coming into residential and farm areas, and that's because our forest is being fenced off.
Exactly.
And I don't know. I'm just saying, is there something that we can do? We talked about this over and over again. Is there something that we can do as this commission to make a statement to say, hey, yeah, and have DLNR respond to that? To say, hey...
Well, I have my own feelings about what we should be doing. I think we should continue doing what we are doing. But you bring up the excellent point. It's just, what can the commission do? The mayor is our mouthpiece, right? So if we see that, and if we can have a compelling argument about the game management that's going on here and have the mayor address that in a proactive way, we might be able to make some headway. But I think that what we need is a game management plan. And I think that we need to have a plan statewide that addresses all of these issues and addresses the fencing in particular. You can't keep fencing without a plan, and there is no plan with these fences as to what's going on with these animals that I can see.
Well, so let's just keep pulling that thread, right? I mean, obviously the state has decided that fencing is part of its future, right? And they're going to continue down that path. And one of the issues with fencing, or the collateral damage, is what we're seeing here, right? So maybe as part of, we got to keep pushing the game management plan, Tom. I'm with you there, but I think that maybe there's something we can do with DLNR that says, when you erect that set of fences, where are the animals going? And what's the damage or cause, right? Now, can you prove that issues, farm, residential, blah, 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 a result of rain follows the forest or NARS programs or something like that? I don't know. But they've done a pretty good job of convincing themselves if they put up a fence, they can kill all the pigs inside the fence. But what about the pigs outside the fence? Where are they going to go? How are they going to live? And what's the damage as a result? Not to a NARS area, not to a watershed area, but where people live, right? Frankly, it's to hell with people and let's keep the trees alive, right? Or whatever they're thinking. And I don't know that that's not a reasonable issue that we can continue to bring up with DLNR, with ILA, whoever runs, or whoever, during the mayor or the gubernatorial races. It is you guys got to think about this, because here's the damage you're causing. Right?
Absolutely, and that's what I'm getting at is exactly what you said, because when you have to do these fencing units and these projects, we always ask, well, are you guys going to do an EIS? And no, they don't have to. They're going to do an EA with a FONSI with a finding of no significant impact.
Right.
And here we're seeing an actual impact now.
Yeah, right.
And yet it's not part of that equation. And yet we're having impacts.
Yeah,
and you have to keep moving forward with FONSIs.
Right. So there's second order effects, yeah? You put up that fence, what happens? Well, the pig's got to go someplace else to eat, right? And, maybe an EIS is required, right? So do you know what happens when you put up that fence to the animals that require that forest to live on? Well, if you don't, you need to understand that, because they end up in people's neighborhoods, right? And they destroy farms. And you're accountable for reimbursing that farmer, right?
If I can just make a comment here, what would you say if birds were causing the same problem? Who'd be responsible?
You mean like the
for
wild
birds?
chickens?
Wild birds.
Any kind of bird, minor bird.
That's a tougher one, yeah? I mean, what are you going to do? Trim their feathers? I don't know. Right? But I mean,
the point I'm trying to make is that if you're trying to find someone responsible for the damage, who would be responsible for birds, rats, whatever else causing?
No, Bobby, you're not. That's not true, right? Because if you're disrupting a pig's forage area, and you've now eliminated that forage area from that group of pigs, and in order to survive, they have to go into people's yards or farms to eat. I mean, the fencing. Now, do I know this is fact? I don't. But if you say that by erecting a fence around 100 acres or 1,000, 100,000 acres, and you've disrupted that animal's habitat, and to live that animal ends up in somebody's neighborhood munching away, then the people who erected the fence didn't think through it all that well, right? They saved it, but the second order effects are causing damage.
I think you have to go back to the root of the situation. The root of the situation is there's that court case where the state is mandated to fence areas in order to protect
No,
endangered
it's
species.
not.
Wait.
It's not. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
I
Let's
just
get
said-
over Mauna Kea. Mauna Kea is long gone.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And I think if you're going to argue that point,
You'd lose.
yeah, because
Let me ask you this
No,
question.
no, because
Legally, are pigs a natural resource? Well,
Yeah.
pigs. Really?
Yes, they were in
Where?
our state constitution.
Really? In the state constitution?
were.
Yeah, I'm saying now.
No.
Well,
right.
there's a question,
So
right?
there's no public trust
Well,
with protecting
hold it,
pigs.
hold it.
Legally.
There's a
So before we
que,
get too far off track, I'm just telling you legally what you got in front of you.
however, there is a question about that, right? Because that particular phrase of a game animal or the management of game was taken out in 78.
It still exists today.
But it still exists today, right? It's
State
a
is
footnote.
yeah.
It's a footnote in the Constitution now, right?
But the state is required to manage game.
Right, and if we get back to the argument you were trying to make about the feds or the court case said, you have to go prior to that because the court case was because the state was not managing its
Right.
resources. That's why we went to court. And so if we're
And
going to
what was
argue
the
all
outcome
of
of
that,
that case? What did the court order the state to do?
the court said you will remove the animals. It didn't say eradicate them. It said remove. And if you read the fine print of earlier judgments on that, Judge King even said that the mouflon sheep and the palula bird can coexist, but it would take stringent management to do that. And the state failed to do that. At which point, the Sierra Club and whoever else sued in federal court. And there were stipulations that it seems to me that the state dropped the ball again, because rather than go for stipulations, they should have gone for an end to the court case. But with the stipulations, you have a continuing opportunity to do other things if you're not satisfied, right?
I guess the concern I have is the state's position is based on the court case. And when it comes down to the end of the day, the decision is going to be made. Okay, what outcomes what are the ramifications or, like you said, the collateral damage as it relates to each potential outcome? One outcome is, okay, we fence the area and we remove the animals from the area. Where does that get the state at the end of the day? Or the other outcome is, oh, maybe we do something and maybe we allow some type of management, but we really don't know how successful that will be. So when, the rubber actually meets the road, the state is going to err on the side of caution. And in this case, the side of caution is that they're putting up the fences. I'm just telling you what their position is and why
So,
it's such a...
but so Mauna Kea is Mauna Kea, federal court order. I get that one. No one here is talking about Mauna Kea. What we're talking about is NARS and watershed. The vast majority of fencing that is ongoing right now has nothing to do with anything other than NARS or watershed, right?
But those areas have been determined to be critical, those resources are resources that fall under the public trust doctrine. So the state is mandated to protect those resources.
No, they're not.
They are, and the county is mandated. We have cases and cases coming up each time, every month. There's new and new cases regarding requirements to protect public and natural resources.
So you're telling me, so you have to believe that we have a water shortage. You have to believe that by fencing and eradicating, that's going to produce more water. There is no data that would ever suggest such a thing.
I don't think that's the position they're taking. Their position is that they have to protect the watershed area. They're not producing more water. They're protecting the watershed area from possible contaminants that may be brought in from the outside. And some of the thought process is that these pigs or these wild animals may be doing that. Same reason why we don't allow, or we try to to keep rodents out of our water source. It's not to create more water, it's to keep the water source clean as possible. And I think that's the position of the state, is they're mandated to protect the public resources, water specifically identified. Pigs aren't. So that's the basis behind their thought process, is if they're going to err on protecting the identified natural resource. And you guys might look at me with daggers or you don't like what I'm saying, but I'm just telling you legally, that's the thought process.
Yeah, but Bill,
The pig's been here for 2,000 years.
and it's not that I disagree with you, it's just I disagree with your premise. The watershed on this island in particular is not at risk from anything. No, and that
Tom, just to clear the record, the county is currently involved in litigation where Judge Ibarra has determined that the county has already denigrated or has not sufficiently protected a particular watershed area in Kona just with the approval of a planned unit development. So you can't tell me that that what we're saying, the premise I'm using is off base, because we're currently in litigation regarding that issue.
Litigation and reality are two different things, so.
Well, when it comes to protecting the county, litigation is the reality.
Well, okay, I can appreciate that. But we're getting back to our game animals, right? These animals were brought here as a resource. They had been a resource for thousands of years. And then in 1978, through some sleight of hand, it was taken out of the Constitution and it wasn't ratified. So that's an issue that we're going to be talking about later. We tried to correct that with a bill a couple years ago, HB amendment to the to the Constitution. That got through one hearing and that was it, and then it was tabled. We have another one which he's trying to address right now that we had in, which HB 105, Cooperative Resource Management. Cooperative resource management means a process, this is in the bill itself, process for the management of public resources that identifies and actively involves all stakeholders. This was an agreement that we had from the NOG back with the state back in 1996. Okay, we came to an agreement with the environmental community. Within that same bill, we have managed through cooperative resource, that's Tony's word, by the way, management strategies that include all resource users and stakeholders. So that means that everybody who has a voice in the forest, or anybody who has use in the forest, would have a say in whether a fence goes up or doesn't go up, how are we going to manage it, if we want to manage. It's these people out here who should be able to choose what goes on in our forest, not some people sitting in Honolulu or in Washington, D.C. or wherever. It's people sitting at this table and out there that are the ones that are out there saying, hey, we want to do this with our resources. And it comes to the danger and threatening of our resources. I don't know about that bill, but when it comes to the actual water and the rest of it, we don't have a threat here. We don't have a threat with the plants either. We could have all invasive plants out here and we'd still have a watershed that would produce 95% of the water we get today. If you replaced all of our non-native plants with native plants, we would increase that total water consumption by 5% only. So we don't have a problem here when it comes to the watershed for our drinking water. We don't use surface water for our water either. So some of these other things are a little bit specious. And also there are some curious goings on. The mayor agreed to $110,000 to match a bill that was produced for a game management pilot program here. Does anybody know what happened on the last day? In reality, what really happened? Have you heard? The real skinny on what?
I haven't spoke to anybody else.
DLNR was concerned that they were going to use money from the Wildlife Revolving Fund that was used for the Lanai and Puka Ainoho lease. So with that, it got some other groups concerned about that, and that kind of slowed things down a little bit towards the end.
So their
there's
money-
there's no legitimate place to get money the way things are written right now, and that's something that we need to be working on.
Right.
There's probably, I said that from day one when we started this, we need to get a funding source somehow, and then we can start moving along with programs or requesting for things to happen. Without the money, we're going to go right up to the end every time, and poof, goodbye.
Right, on that, the one thing I wanted to talk about tonight was exactly that.
You know, and in reality, that's the point I'm trying to make. You know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying we have to know what the hurdles are, you know, if we're going to start running the race. And if we start the race and, you know, we're just jumping over hurdles, and we never get any closer to the end line or the finish line, then we're kind of just spinning our wheels as we go. So we know what the hurdles are. We have sufficient enough information in front of us to know what the hurdles are. The hurdles are whether or not we can convince the state to better balance or give greater consideration to the premise that our game management, our wild animals, our game animals are just as important to the public, to the community, to sustainability as an endangered plant or an endangered bird's nesting area. And therefore, there should be a better equation as it relates to the balancing act. Because right now, the issue in front of us and the concern we have is that too much emphasis is given to the birds nesting and the plants, and insufficient efforts, resources are given to the game animals.
Right.
And so we know that that's how the game is being played right now. So the riddle that you need to solve here is, okay, how are we going to chip away at that? What can we do? What can this entity do to effectuate some type of change in that thought process? And what's the most effective way? Now, you know, and that's why I said, Tony, that's the point I'm trying to make, is, okay, there has to be some unified effort to move forward. One, maybe identify a funding source. You know, try bring, maybe you guys can be collaborative and bring, you know, people from the community outside together to formulate, you know, a group that has resources available. You know, you can maybe match that up, partner that up with maybe a position from the mayor's office. Maybe, I'm just throwing ideas out there. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. I'm just throwing ideas out there where I came to a meeting 7 months ago of this group, you know, in the Puna conference room, and, you know, some of you were appearing video conference, and the issues that we were discussing 7 months ago are the same issues now, and I don't see much, you know, I don't see where there has been much traction. So I think what I'm trying to do is, you know, it seems like I might be around here for a little while longer, unless you guys kick me out, which...
No, we enjoy having you here.
It's prerogative. But so what I'm trying to do is trying to align us so that we can start seeing results for, you know, our efforts. Because what's going to happen is that people are going to get frustrated, and people are going to give up, and people are going to be, you know, become discontented or disenfranchised with the, you know, the whatever the government function is, and then they start losing interest, and I don't want to have that happen.
One second here about where you were last and where we are today. We went through a legislative season, and this is our first meeting after the legislature closed. And we're looking at what successes we had and what failures that we had in the legislative season. And this is what we're talking about, and this is what we're addressing this evening. We've gone through an awful lot of other issues in the meantime prior to this. We haven't been on these issues alone. We're on them now, and we're on them tonight. I'm bringing them up tonight for two reasons. Number one, we need to start now. We've been late the last two times in the legislature in getting going with people. So this is the time we need to get started. We need to dovetail with things like Tony is doing with that outdoor heritage thing to bring awareness to the public so that they support what we're doing more than than we have right now. So I think these kind of things are really good. Rules and regulations have been sitting in DLNR for 6 years. They told me that there was an issue that came up about bow hunting that I talked to DLNR about, and about being in the field with anything other than a broadhead. And so, it's just if you're out there with a target tip, you could get sighted by a doe care. You can't have any practice tips with you. So that's a problem. So I wanted to find out how we could get that changed. They were talking about the end of the year to try and get the rules going. Tony's talking about funding. We have license fees at $10 right now that's been funding everything. All the money's been going to Lanai. And we need to get more money. I don't know how these hunters here feel about a $25 license fee, but that's what's needed here. We don't need to have a $10 license fee, a $10 tag fee, and a $10, it's $30, just call it 25 and be done with it and get the money into the Wildlife Revolving Fund. Now, it's interesting to hear him mention the Wildlife Revolving Fund is what they were planning on doing our commission with, where they were going to have hunters pay for the commission on the Wildlife Revolving Fund and the county pay for the match on that's pretty classic. But we need to get the rules changed, because even the rules right now, and that's one of the other things that we need to be working on specifically. Turkey hunters that were here lost 2 days of turkey hunting, and there's no way for DLNR to say, well, we're going to give you an extra 2 days. And with the current rules that we have, that's not going to happen. But anyway, it's getting close to 8:30. I'm going to final before we do our executive session. Anybody else have anything they want to bring forward?
I'd like to just suggest one thing to close this conversation. Perhaps what we might do is draft a letter on behalf of the mayor that says that whatever the state's doing up there has an unintended consequence, and that is pigs are coming down into residential areas. Mm-hmm. We humbly ask that the DLNR at least recognize this and do whatever they can to address it, or try and come up with some sort of mitigation. Because it is an unintended consequence.
It is. Well, we believe.
Yeah, but the other side of that sword is that
eradication.
No, it's we need. That's fine. That's what we all want. Is to say, hey, look, there's things happening. But if we say that now there's a problem with the pigs in the residential areas, what's going to happen to the pigs? The same thing. That's all a part of this grand plan.
Conspiracy theory.
That's the whole, no, but that's how they're going to get it. These people in the residence are having problems with it. So therefore, same as how Dick guys are having this problem with the residents of Waikoloa not wanting, there's what? Probably not even 1,000 people that live in that Waikoloa resort. But how can they have all that power to stop this whole thing? That's the thing. I agree with you, Bobby. We need to, be proactive on this, but we gotta really pick and choose how we fight our battles.
Yeah, I just like to say one thing.
Crack us in the butt.
I read this letter a few times, and for me, and I hate to be pedantic about this, but it becomes a problem of the problem, because we always come back to this thing of trying to define what it is we're talking about. Yep. You brought that up. You're telling us that you gave us your take on it, but we always come back to this point. What are we talking about? And we can go global and say, hey, this is a problem of resource management because our population has grown, but I don't think it's going to solve our problem. Because her problem, it requires that the state starts managing resources. And it's got to do it in a balanced manner. We're talking about a food resource, and they don't believe it's a food resource. In fact, I think I see kind of a schizophrenic position that the state has taken, because on one hand, it mentions game animals within the HRS. On the other hand, it says that these game animals are invasive. So, and legally, what I think what we need is some help to start defining this thing in a better way. So, that's my thought.
I agree. Anybody else have anything? We are going to close at 8:30.
Bobby, I agree with you. I think we should write a letter. If we can. Whether it be from
It's up to you guys.
the GMAC, or it'd be more powerful if it came from the mayor.
You can make a motion if you want.
I want to make a motion that we write a letter, but get Billy's either signature, or along with our signature, we get it to the state DLNR and say, hey, look, this is unintended consequences of fencing, right? I mean, if you read her letter, it's never happened, now it's happening, and it's a result, she believes, of fencing. Let's run with that story. I just think that's the right thing to do. So that's my motion.
I second.
Okay.
I second.
All in favor?
I'd like to have discussion here.
Yeah.
I'd like to add 2 cents, that this tracks with what has happened in all of your neighbor island counties. This very same thing, it's happening in Honolulu, happening on Maui, it's happening on Kauai. So I think the letter has to be written. I don't know how we're going to write it, but it needs to be written. There are these consequences that are happening because
That's it right there.
the fencing goes up.
That's the point. That's the point I was trying to get. It's not that we need to find a solution to the pig problem.
Right.
It's just the problem is the fencing, and that is not the effects of that pigs now.
Right, and that could be
Yeah.
part of the letter. I'm not.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's because then that covers what Willie Joe's concern was, because then they're just going to come in. They've been dying to
Yeah.
work with the
I don't
Department of
agree with that.
Agriculture already. They've been trying to pull Department of Agriculture this past legislative session on several bills to get the Department of Agriculture involved in eradicating pigs, and the Department of Agriculture keeps kicking it back to DLNR, saying, no, we don't want nothing to do with that. That's your guys' department. So the Department of Ag is fighting back too. So you can see where they're attempting to bring them in so that they can have jurisdiction over agriculture and farmlands.
I saw a definite maybe on that last vote.
I'm a no on that, sorry.
Let's
Put me down as
let's
no.
go ahead with a roll call then. Tony.
What was the motion again, please?
The motion was to draft a letter, send it to DLNR, summarizing this woman's issue and the unintended consequences of fencing and pushing pigs into residential areas. That
You
was the
seconded.
motion.
Are you guys still in discussion, or are you taking the vote?
We're just one more minute.
We're just, Tony wanted me to reiterate, so I did it.
I really have to see how it would be written, because this is a double-edged sword. You know, it really is.
We need to craft a letter and
So can we ask the legal counsel to do that for us?
No, I'll draft the letter. I'll draft the letter.
craft
Right.
a letter, send it to me, we'll send it
Yep,
out.
we'll send it out.
We'll get it done.
How about I proffer, you draft a letter, you bring the draft to the next meeting.
Yes.
And then the vote be taken at the next
Thank you.
meeting, up and down with the letter.
Okay.
I'll draft it.
All right.
still need to vote.
All those in favor?
Wait.
No, we need to vote on that proposition. So
Draft and bring-
I'm going to draft a letter, bring it back. You guys take a look at it. Now, we need to vote on that process.
All right.
Can we vote on that process?
Okay.
Ayes?
Aye.
Fine.
Opposed?
All right.
Unanimous.
I love this process.
I move to adjourn and go into executive session.
Second?
I second.
Okay, moved and seconded, we're adjourned.
Adjourn.
In favor?
Aye.